some users are logging off Facebook for good, following Meta's pivot to appeasing incoming president-elect Donald Trump. CEO Mark Zuckerberg recently announced a series of changes to the platform, to many platforms under Meta, which include the end of fact checks, as well as reducing content moderation around political discourse. Now, this is not good, okay? Updates to Meta's policy on hateful conduct now allow people to call members of the LGBTQ community mentally ill, and you're also allowed to compare immigrants, like Mexican immigrants, for example, to literal feces. So, yeah, that's great. Lovely. In addition, Meta had also disbanded its diversity, equity, and inclusion team because, of course, I mean, a lot of these major corporations are getting rid of their DEI. So, hey, look, if you're a mid-white guy, okay, and you don't get a job at these companies now, you can no longer blame DEI. Okay, can't blame affirmative action because once that went away, then they went to DEI. Can't blame that now. So what are you gonna blame? What are you gonna blame? Especially if the immigrants are gone. And then what are you gonna blame? At some point, the realization is gonna have to dawn on you that, oh, right, it's because I'm not bringing anything special to the table. So now, Zuck is not the only big tech billionaire that is kissing Donald Trump's ass. In fact, you've got Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos that will both be seated in prominent spots at Trump's inauguration. That's after they gave millions of dollars to Trump and his inauguration. Elon Musk, of course, gave nearly $250 million. So now, of course, when it comes to users of Facebook, that has not gone over well. Facebook and Facebook products. NBC News reviewed hundreds of posts and comments across the various social media platforms, saying that users would delete their Meta accounts, stop posting, or boycott the company in response to these changes. Since Meta's changes were announced, Google searches for deleting Facebook and Instagram have sharply increased, according to Google Trends. One person who has more than 20,000 followers on Facebook and Instagram said, quote, "I no longer feel safe to post on either platform as a queer Chicana woman." This is Marie Valencia, who's a full-time artist. She says, "I have seen a steady stream of folks abandoning their profiles as well, especially in the last couple of weeks as Meta has dismantled DEI and speech protections for the most vulnerable online." Valencia has moved to posting on Blue Sky. Hey, all right. The alternative to X, as well as a platform for Latina women called Amigahood. Meta will become another X, Valencia said. Well, I mean, yeah. They're literally taking the community notes idea from X, which, by the way, outsourcing fact-checking to your community means that you don't have to pay fact-checkers. Okay, so, yeah. Now, when it comes to Facebook, I've been on it for a long time, okay? And outside of my fairly small community, it's pretty bad, all right? It's always been bad. Now, that said, my page used to get a lot of engagement, most of it positive, some of it not so positive, you know, and I'll be honest about that, right? That said, currently, after their recent changes as of like last year, which really limited the reach of political content such as myself, it's a lot smaller. All right. That said, when it gets a lot smaller, aside from a couple of folks out there that are a bit negative, it's actually not bad. I mean, look, the hate comments don't get to me. I'm fairly entertained by some of them. You know, some of y'all who are haters are extremely dedicated haters, and I appreciate you because you're hanging around, you're engaging, you know, and that actually helps me in the algorithm. But you know, the positive commenters, of course, I appreciate that you have all remained and are a small community, and it's good. I would understand, of course, if you wanted to get off this platform or go somewhere else. Like, for example, to my YouTube channel, and you can see where that is, at Logically Leftist. But, if you want to stay here, I'll keep posting. I'll post through it. It doesn't matter. All right, but there's more. Cord Jefferson, a director of Academy Award Best Picture nominee American Fiction, announced on Sunday that he was leaving Instagram, but would remain active on Tumblr, though I think it's a different company. So many things are getting bleaker and grosser by the day, he says. And while we can't place the blame for all of it at the feet of tech oligarchs, here we go again. We can place the blame for a lot of it at the feet of tech oligarchs. I'm doing what little I can to shut the increasingly stupid ideas that shape online spaces like this out of my life. Stanford University law professor Mark Lemley, who represents Meta in a copyright dispute involving AI, announced Monday that he would be dropping the company as a client and reconsidering his use of Meta platforms. Quote, I struggled with how to respond to Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook's descent into toxic masculinity and neo-Nazi madness. And by the way, just got to point out, like, masculinity is fine, but when it goes into, the toxic variety, as in, like, when you're putting people down, when you're going the Andrew Tate route, as in, is sex with women gay? What? That's the Nick Fuentes route as well. That's when you start getting toxic. Is wearing the wrong kind of shirt not manly? Destroying masculinity? Yo, that's super fragile. All right. Seriously. Can't stand it. Really? Ridiculous. But anyway, he says, getting back to Lemley, while I have thought about quitting Facebook, I find great value in the connections and friends I have here, and it doesn't seem fair that I should lose that because Zuckerberg is having a midlife crisis. I wouldn't say it's midlife crisis. I think it's more of like, not only am I scared of the incoming administration, so I am complying in advance, right? But also I want to make more money. And that's ultimately Zuck's priority, is making that money. Got to make that money. All right. Now, Lemley said he did deactivate his account on Threads, Meta's X alternative, which is a dumpster fire anyway, and that he will no longer buy products from ads he sees on Facebook and Instagram. Now, here's the thing, right? I'm all for consumer revolts, right? I don't think this is going to change much overall. There's so many users on Facebook, and on Threads and things like that. But here's the thing: it doesn't actually have to make an effect. If you feel better by logging off Meta and not coming back, that's a good enough reason. If it helps your mental health. I mean, it doesn't have to be some big message, right? Or big movement, right? If it makes you feel better, if it helps your mental health, why not? Why stay in a place that makes you miserable? Okay. People, y'all need all the self-care you can get in these dark times. But as I mentioned, I'm a post through it, okay, until Zuck gives me the axe. And if I can, in between that time, make a few people feel better, help someone out, do a little good, that's enough for me. All right. Or, I can at least see some of the more entertaining and clever hate comments. So y'all might want to up your game, make me laugh. That said, Stacey Kess, founder of the nonprofit news organization Equal Access Public Media, did tell NBC News that she was very disheartened to see other people and organizations in the disability community continue to post on Meta platforms after their policy on hateful conduct was updated to allow calling LGBTQ people mentally ill, saying, I just saw so many people still actively posting on Instagram, and I wondered how many of them knew about the policy change. It should be a hard line for both the disability and the LGBTQ community. Equal Access Public Media has issued their own statements concerning the policy change on their different pages, and said that EAPM condemns this policy, allows dehumanizing and ableist language, who continue to post elsewhere, like, for example, on Blue Sky, where they have their largest following. Kess said, quote, we don't feel like we're taking a moral absolutism absolutism kind of stance, we feel like we're just living our values by saying this is not okay. We'll continue to explore other options because we know that there are other options. Hey, that's cool. And look, there's not many other options, but they do exist, right? Blue Sky is a good example. I'm on there, but for other people, there's like Mastodon, and there's all sorts of different places that you could go. Okay. In fact, funny enough, this kind of relates a little bit to the TikTok ban that's coming. Okay. You have a lot of TikTok users and creators that have actually been migrating to a literal Chinese app known in the US as Red Note. Okay. Which is not for the US audiences, right? It's all in Chinese. But it has been described as China's answer to Instagram. And so you got a lot of people from TikTok going over there. Within the span of 2 days, more than 700,000 new users have joined Red Note. Many of these new American users say they had joined as an act of defiance against the TikTok ban, which I think is ridiculous. Why are we banning TikTok? Oh, we're worried about user information, but the Chinese government, and why? The U.S. government already has all our information. I mean, our corporations just hand it over to law enforcement, hand it over to the politicians whenever they want it. How's the Chinese government having that information? How's it going to make that worse? All right. It's ridiculous. All right. But anyway, getting all these people to go and get a literal Chinese app, congratulations. But again, the whole point is, hey, there's options. There are options, and people are going to find those options that fit their values. So I think that should be the ultimate takeaway here, is if these companies are no longer serving a good purpose or any purpose at all, really, then yeah, go ahead and leave them, because at the end of the day, they need us way more than we need them. All right. I grew up in a generation that didn't have social media. I grew up without it. Life was fine. And if it comes down to it, we can go without it again. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.